Good morning, everyone, and welcome along to Liverpool, to Aintree, the home of the world-famous Grand National.
And its sun is shining. It is great to be here, and not just about the Grand National. 3 incredible days of racing. Today is going to be very special indeed, and I don't know what it is about this city, but it really comes to life, and we're in for such a great day, aren't we?
Absolutely, and it used to be about one race, this meeting, but as you mentioned, 4 Grade 1s today, Ladies' Day tomorrow, flying over the top of them again ahead of Saturday's big race.
Indeed, and it's a city that knows how to put on a show, and indeed the stars of the turf as well. And if last year's opening day is anything to go by, we're in for an awesome afternoon.
He's going to make it 4 out of 4 in his career. He wins the anniversary 4-year-old juvenile hurdle. Gino the winner. Jerry Colomb to the outside of Ahoy Senor, and Jerry Colomb has won the William Hill Bowl Chase.
He's battling back all the way with Bob Olinger as they race pace to the finish. Oh, it's tight! This is a triumph for perseverance. It's on the line, never going in the hands of Derek O'Connor, and he wins the Randox Fox Hunters.
Get ready for day 1 of the Randox Grand National Festival. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Racing TV studio for 3 days of the sublime. The Randox Grand National Festival is here. Can't wait for it to get going. We have stars aplenty throughout the week. Today, Constitution Hill and Lossiemouth. Tomorrow, John Bon. And on Saturday, Tiupu. Then, of course, the small matter of the Randox Grand National itself, which is declared a really classy field. We'll be going through that a little bit later. But today's card is a proper aperitif in the making. 4 Grade 1s to kick off the action, starting with the Manifesto Novices Chase. That's a 1:45 over the extended 2 miles and 3 furlongs, featuring a real strong lineup this year. And Pere Pass is moved into the market leader spot now. In first-time cheek pieces for Willie Mullins. Last year, of course, he was a winner at the Aintree Festival. The likes of Django Bay and Croke Park make it a fascinating renewal. The 220, that's the Juvenile Hurdle Grade 1, featuring Put Your Hands Together. So impressive, wasn't he, at the Cheltenham Festival in the Fred Winter. He won on the bridle and comes here as the favourite, with a fair few larger stars having dropped out earlier in the week. In the 255, the bowl features the likes of Grey Dawning up against Spillans Tower. That's over the extended 3 miles. And then the one we are all looking forward to the most, the 3:30 William Hill Aintree Hurdle. Constitution Hill lining up against both Lossiemouth and Woodoo, who could be a little bit of a joker in the pack. Unbeaten so far, she was a winner of the Martin Pipe when last seen at the Cheltenham Festival. Most people think it's going to be between the front 2 in the markets. I have a sneaking suspicion she might just play a hand in the finish too. The 405, that is the Fox Hunters. Always a nice opportunity for the amateurs to show what they can do on the big stage over those Grand National fences. The 440, that is the first handicap of the meeting. That's the Red Run over the 2-mile trip, won last year by Sombrouille, and he's going to try and follow up off the same handicap mark under Harry Cobden. And the 515 to close proceedings on day 1, that is the Mayor's Bumper. A prestigious contest over that extended 2 miles. I'll be here in the studio throughout the morning, looking at some analysis, looking at the race IQ metrics. But for now, it's time to head back to Niall, who has been joined by his 2 guests for the morning.
Thanks, Tom. You join us as the helicopters are flying overboard. As I welcome Graham Cunningham and Lisa O'Neill to the show. We heard from Tom there. Graham, I'll come to you first. This used to be about one race, the Grand National.
Yeah.
It's now a proper festival. 4 Grade 1s to get us underway. It's a proper 3 days of racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi Lisa, hi Niall, hi everyone. It's fantastic. And today, rock and roll, 4 consecutive Grade 1s. The weather is perfect. We've had hardly any rain in this area right through March, so the watering has been consistent and considerable. Have to see how the ground rides, but you have to think that the speed horses are going to be in their element over the next day or 2.
At least you're a big part of the Gordon Elliott team. When did Gordon's horses travel over?
They actually travelled over 2 days ago, Niall, so they got here on Wednesday. It was Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So all settled in, rode out this morning, all seem in good form and travelled over well. So yeah, fingers crossed, plenty of ammunition to fire. Obviously Crow Park kicks off the day as well in the manifesto, the novice chase. But yeah, plenty of good chances. But look, it's so exciting to be here. I think we've got the weather as well, but like as Graham mentioned, 4 grade 1s, but they're highly competitive grade 1s as well.
Absolutely, and declarations have just come through for the feature. Gordon Elliott, when he won it with Silver Birch, obviously Tiger Roll went on and won it, and you think of the Grand National, Gordon Elliott, you think of Tiger Roll, but Silver Birch at the time, he hadn't trained a winner in Ireland.
Yeah, it was quite a phenomenal training performance, really, considering he hadn't trained a winner in Ireland, and to come and land the biggest, most prestigious race in jump racing. Silver Birch, obviously, I mean, he's still admired and looked after at the old age. I think he could be 28 or 29 at this stage. He hasn't made the journey over this year to parade, but Tiger Roll will be here this year, and we look forward to seeing him. He grows about 10 foot when he gets into the parade ring here in Aintree. But yeah, look, it's a fantastic race.
I think one of the key elements today, Constitution Hill, Lossiemouth is a fantastic head-to-head. But I think with those 4 grade 1s, I think there are more people here, more trainers and jockeys, think they've got a sniff of winning a Group 1 today than you would have on an equivalent day at the Cheltenham Festival.
And you've got other things. You've got Willie Mullins, Paul Nicholls maybe, who are well represented in the Grand National. Lots of prize money. Dan Skelton is as short as 10 to 1 on to be crowned champion trainer for the first time.
He borrowed a Fergie phrase, didn't he? Squeaky bum time. Yeah. I think if Willie or Paul Nicholls really get on a roll in the big ones, it could get tight.
It could get tight. Right, we are going to be previewing all the races throughout this morning's show, and we're going to start by looking at the big race of the afternoon, and what a cracker it is.
In the colours of Michael Buckley, Constitution Hill, a class apart, wins the Supreme.
Constitution Hill, a real champion, a superstar.
The best novice hurdler I've seen in decades.
Monstrous performance, smashing the track record.
The final flight in the champion hurdle, Constitution Hill, hold your breath. And he's over clear. Constitution Hill, one of the hurdling greats, simply breathtaking.
Constitution Hill at the very top of his game. He may even be able to raise it higher.
That was disappointing. We have a problem.
Constitution Hill will not be defending his crown in the champion hurdle.
Constitution Hill has the lead and he comes down towards the final flight. Constitution Hill is back and he's the first ever 3-time winner of a Labrooks Christmas hurdle.
Comes down towards the final flow. Gave you a fright, gave us all a fright. They raced away from the Unimed champion hurdle. Halfway, 5th line of hurdles, and Constitution Hill is down.
It is pretty painful, to be honest. Makes you want to cry, but I'm trying not to.
He now has got to get back and reclaim his title. I think it's unfair to write him off now, but the margin for error is 0.
Well, I think it's fair to say it's been an up and down journey for today's headline acts. What a cracker we have in store for the Aintree hurdle a little bit later. Number 1, Constitution Hill is very much the star on show, and he'll be looking to put behind him that fall in the champion hurdle. So disappointing, wasn't it, to see him not finish the race, but on the back of that Christmas hurdle form, he looks the one to beat in today's headline race. Alongside him in the field, tell her the name, Break My Soul. They've both got a lot to find with the market leader. I think we're all hoping that Constitution Hill can put on a show, at least us British fans are anyway. Those are the first 3 in the field, and the rest of the field looks like this. Lossiemouth and Woodoo with Take No Chances too, but Lossiemouth very much over 2.5 miles looks to have a very good chance again, doesn't she, having been so successful, it's so impressive, I should say, when successful at the Cheltenham Festival in the Mares Hurdle. She's going to put up the Constitution Hill, I've no doubt about that, but as mentioned before, I do like the chance of Woodoo. She's the up-and-comer, the improver, and she seems to be progressing sort of £10 each run. Certainly she did that when winning the Martin Pipe last time out, and the way she travels into the race, I hope she's going to be absolutely fine in this Grade 1 company. Hopefully she can put it up to the front too. Let's have a look at the market then. Over 2.5 miles, Constitution Hill is the even money market leader. Nico de Boinville and Nicky Henderson in this Grade 1 contest. Lossiemouth there 11 to 8. They're pretty close together in the market. It wasn't quite that tight between the two of them earlier in the week, but there they are. Even money 11 to 8. Wadoo is 15 to 8 now for Danny Gilligan and trainer Gordon Elliott. Take no chances there, 50 to 1. Tell her the name. And Break My Soul, both at 125 to 1. Right, time to delve into this race in a little bit more detail. Once again, we can join Niall and the team.
Yeah, even money is even money. The champ, Constitution Hill, to get his season, his career sort of back on track. Crashed out before the race really developed, but it was sort of coming, wasn't it? The hurdle before, he let fly as well. So basically, on a horse, you're either spot on, in short or long, and when he's not on the correct stride, he likes to take off rather than fiddle, like shimmy in front of it and give himself a little bit more room.
Yeah, and like, he's not a big horse, but he's loads of scope, and he can make these jumps sometimes when he does stand off them. But with certain 2-milers, there's always that level of living on the edge a little bit and being slightly reckless. But there's always just a fine margin and no margin for error by any means, because he stands off them, he's quite low at them as well. But this time, obviously, in the champion hurl, Niall, he didn't make it to the other end. He put down mid-flight because he stood off it. You can see that's the flight beforehand, and he does kind of stand off at that. He's quite long, but Nico allows him to do that because he's got away with it for so long. Obviously, coming to the next one down the hill, and the momentum is starting to pick up as well, and they're starting to inject a little bit of pace into the race also. Nico seems happy and content, obviously, throughout the whole race, but he picks up here long, and he obviously puts down nearly mid-flight. Now,
there is a school of thought. You hear jockeys saying it. He may well learn from that. We won't know until we watch it today, but he might go down the hurdle thinking, the last time I done that hurt. I end up on the ground, I might just back off and fiddle a little bit. But as you say, and we've seen over the years, Isterbrak used to Hurricane Fly, was an out and out, just that much, a couple of millimetres over them. It's a fine line.
And horses can recover from falls very quickly, as we've seen with Lossiemouth, who took a perler at the DRF. And I think I heard Nicky Henderson correctly there when he said the margin for error is 0. And Lisa's dead right. Those really good ones, they can live on the edge. The seeds for this problem were sown a good while ago. At the last, when he won the champion hurdle, he absolutely let rip. Got to the other side fine. When he won the international hurdle in December, he was cruising and still made a blunder at the final flight.
Yeah, which I thought watching that, he's learned. Because he had the race in the bag. This is the Christmas hurdle. Suppose one question I want to ask you quickly. Do you think Lossiemouth is the same Lossiemouth here as we've seen in March?
Well, lots of people think she wasn't on her A game here, but what I will say, admittedly coming back from a break, Lisa, at Constitution Hill, this was the first and still only time that Constitution Hill has ever felt the whip on his backside. He's never been touched by the whip, and he had to get 4 cracks to keep Lossiemouth at bay. So if she wasn't on her A game then, we can look forward to something special today.
Yeah, and obviously what we see here is over 2 miles. She's up to the 2.5 mile trip today, which is her optimum for me. We obviously seen Constitution Hill winning this race a couple of years ago, and I don't think he was at his optimum back then. And if you go back through the form lines of that Aintree hurl and what he beat in behind him, Sharjah, Zanahiyr, to me, they were, no disrespect to any of them, but they were on a downward trajectory. Their peak of their maybe careers were behind them at that stage. So I don't think it was a blow-away performance by him over 2.5 mile before.
Isn't it amazing that we're in the first week of April of this season, and we still do not know who the best hurdler around is? Today's head-to-head should give us a reasonable idea. And you touched on something that could be interesting there. Constitution Hill might lead here. Tell her the name can go forward, but if they want to keep it simple and dictate, they have the potential to do that with Constitution Hill today.
Yeah, and Constitution Hill we saw him on trials day. They tried to drop him in, but his natural gait, his natural rhythm took him to the front early in the back straight. So yes, it's 2.5 mile, but you don't want to get in a fight with him early. So it might be, if nobody else wants to go on, and you're thinking, how do you get him beat if he can do things wrong? I think Nico, if he does take it on and maybe into the back straight final time, just sort of do it in his own terms and get him in a nice rhythm, because you've touched on it. the least impressive he's been in his whole career was this race 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly, Niall. And I actually wouldn't be surprised if the mare potentially went forward either, because I think this is really her optimum trip, as I mentioned beforehand. Maybe she could stretch him a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how tactics do play out. But even though she could maybe down the home straight, Paul Townend could hold on to her and maybe try and land a blow late on either. But she is tactically versatile. You can put her anywhere. But it'll be really interesting to see how it does unfold.
Let's have a look at her if we can in the mare's hurdle. They went for the easy target. Was it the easy target? We knew what happened in the champion hurdle itself, but she's won on a common canter.
We had Take No Chances highlighted there. She seems to have precious little chance of getting closer than the 10 lengths to Lossiemouth. And when she's good, this filly, Lisa, at this trip, she just lopes so effortlessly into the race. Of course, Constitution Hill poses a stiffer test, but she is, she is certainly one of the best mares we've seen around since Annie Power, who won this race, beating a Henderson horse, My Tent or Yours, on her final start in 2016. Can it be 9 years ago since that race?
Absolutely. She skips away up the home straight. She hasn't had, I'd say she hasn't had a hard season. You mentioned earlier she had a perler of a fall. No seagulls in Liverpool?
No, well, not the way. No, they've been banned from the vicinity.
Yeah.
But I think I adore that filly. I think she's tremendous. But if you wanted me to put this race in a nutshell, I'd say Constitution Hill was 1-2 to win a champion hurdle that included a peak form, rampant, brighter days ahead, and a tremendous horse in State Man. And today, he's odds against to win a lesser race. And I think that's an overreaction. I think he's potentially interesting for me to back at 11-10.
Okay. We've just talked about Constitution Hill and Lossiemouth. It's come to you, Woodhoo, the 20th and final race. Gordon Elliott will know that well. She is just such a tough, likeable, improving filly. It's another couple of rungs up the ladder today, but hasn't she earned her stripes?
Yes, she has. She deserves to take her chance here, to be honest, Niall, because what she'd done I thought was ultra impressive. She gave weight away to everything in this race, bar one horse. I was chatting to Danny Gilligan this morning when we were riding out, actually, just about the race and how it unfolded, and he said he went to shake her up and all of a sudden she just got there so easily, in her own rhythm at this stage still as well, so comfortable. She hit the front at this stage, and I think Danny was thinking, oh no, I'm here a little bit sooner than I initially wanted to. But even from the back of the last, I love the way she picks up all the way to the line, and to me, visually, I think the further she went, the better she was going. I think she's a top class mare. We don't know where her ceiling lies. She deserves to take her chance here. Why not?
Tell us about her. Obviously, she's been to Cheltenham. She's home. Is she a relaxed mare, an easy to do mare at home?
She's a great constitution. She's a great mind. She does everything you want her to do. She's very simple, very straightforward. I'd imagine they'll like to maybe sit her in like they did obviously in Cheltenham and ride her to come home well, but she remains very interesting in this, because how good is she? We don't know yet.
When you look at that, she absolutely bolted up in what is always a red hot handicap. Now, it was from a mark of 141, but she absolutely deserves her chance. And I shouldn't really mention this on a major jumps day, but does the number 71 mean anything to you? She's rated 71 on the flat.
Yeah.
Gordon's going to do some damage when she goes back on the level, but today she absolutely deserves a chance.
Yeah, she does. I was just a little bit concerned with her chance today, not knowing what's going to go forward. I thought if it did turn tactical and Nico bowled along in front and wary of what happened in the race 2 years ago, wanted to make it a speed test rather than a real stamina test, that she would be more inconvenienced than the others, because she looked like, you mentioned Danny Gilligan saying to you this morning, like he goes for, that's over 2.5 mile up a stiff track, up a stiff finish, and then she comes alive. She just looks like she's relentless galloping, and I thought around the sharper track, if it was a little bit tactical, mightn't suit her.
Potentially she could be vulnerable to maybe a speed favouring horse, but look, we'll see. We'll learn a lot today, I think, Niall, but she definitely deserves to take her chance in Grade 1 company for the very first time. She's plenty to prove, she's plenty to find on ratings, but look, she's a really likeable type. She's great heart, and the fact of the top two in the market have fallen on their last couple of runs says, if why not take the chance? Maybe if something did go amiss with one of the top two, she still has a big hope.
So your heart's saying Woodhoo, your head's saying
Lossiemouth.
Okay.
I think it might be, remember that Kempton clip? I think it might be similar. I think it might be Constitution Hill having to work, but doing enough. But either way, it's tremendous to have two such, maybe three such world-class hurdlers on day one.
Yeah, it's going to split opinion. It is a features the William Hill Aintree hurdle.
Mark your car. Proudly sponsored by Timeform.
Incredible news just in. Bet365 payout before the game has even finished.
That's right. Bet365's early payout offer is incredible. And guess what? It also applies to our bet builder. Just back your team to win, and if they go 2 goals up at any point in the game, your selection is a winner.
Well, that settles it. Check out the early payout offer and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365.
Mark your car. Proudly sponsored by Timeform.
Well, alongside Pat Cooney at Bet365, and the tunes are already belting out here at Aintree. How great it is to be back. I'm sure for yourself, you've been coming here many, many years.
Oh, absolutely. This is without doubt my favourite meeting, and I've been everywhere, but 3 days at Aintree in April, rain or shine doesn't bother me, but we got the sunshine and some terrific racing. Almost a much more relaxed atmosphere than Cheltenham. I think we're all under stress, there's a lot going on, but we come here to Aintree and we all have a great time, so more of the same, please.
You never look stressed, Pat.
No,
I don't know
no,
what you're on
never
about. What about your first national memory?
Well, I was thinking about this. I actually have, I can go back to 1994, and I met a girl, and I thought, oh, I'll ask her out on a date.
Okay.
And it was about March time, and she said, well, if you can tip me the Grand National winner, I'll go out with you the following week. So I tipped the Mini Homer, and the horse won. Now, I often wonder what would have happened if Mini Homer had got beat, because I've been with her ever since.
Are you serious? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
that's true love.
True love. There have been times when I think, well, if it had got beat, it wouldn't have been so bad. But yeah, so that's, what, 30 years ago? So how about that for a story?
That is a story. Amazing. And right, well, let's get into today. I don't know, you never know. There could be love in the air for many people at Aintree today. And the champion hurdle, I mean, Lossiemouth and Constitution Hill. It's the rematch, it's the clash that we've all talked about, you know, so much in the build-up to Cheltenham. And here it is. Kind of it all took us by shock almost, a bit of a surprise, but it's very much on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the key to the race this time is it's 2 miles, 3.5. And that's got to favour Lossiemouth more than Constitution Hill. He won this race 2 years ago, wasn't it? But I thought he didn't finish exactly full of run in that day.
He was running on fumes a bit,
yeah,
wasn't
he was a little bit. And Lossiemouth, well, she gets the trip very, very well. So who's the better of the two? I suppose Constitution Hill's the better of the two.
Prices?
Well, it's evens Constitution, and that has been popular. I'd imagine he'll go off for odds on. But if we get Lossiemouth and the others in the race, we'll be happy with that. I think Lossiemouth might just beat him today. And it's interesting, isn't it? He's on the back of a fall. Lossiemouth's had a fall before. So maybe they could both get beat.
I wonder, is there a surprise package in the likes of Wooda? Has there been money for anything else?
Well, that one has been popular, but I think she's short enough as a price, isn't she? But all those ones by her name, I'm sure she'll have a backers. So I'm gonna lean towards Lossiemouth because of the price and because of the trip.
Okay.
But I wish them all well. I hope the best one wins.
Oh, bring it on. Cannot wait for that. It's going to be such a spectacle. It could be the race this season. What about the Bull then? How are we shaping up for that?
Well, Great Dawning is popular. Spillane Tower is there again in the market. Not much movement, really. I suppose the booking of Paul Tower for Embassy has made that one shorten up a little bit. But Gaelic Warrior as well, he's been popular in the market. Not a horse I've ever got right, Gaelic Warrior. As soon as I draw a line through him, he comes out and wins the next time. So the market is pretty solid. Great Dawning going to go a favourite. He won our Bet365 race at Kelso last time, beating Iroko. So, you know, all eyes on Iroko's price for the National were he were to win the bowl. So it's an intriguing race. Of course, he comes here fresh, as does Spallans as well. And of course, you've got Ahoy Seigneur, who he comes alive at this particular meeting as well. So tricky race, that one.
Very
and,
tricky.
yeah.
It's going to be a good one, isn't it? And the 4-year-old juvenile hurdle, that's going to be an interesting betting heat because there's been a few springers in there already.
Yeah, Put Your Hands Together is a very, very well-backed favourite. Of course, he won a hot-looking handicap, didn't he? He's now 5-4, having been bigger. Several unknown quantities in the race, not much collateral form to go on. The one at the bottom, the mare Mercia, has been popular in the market. She continues to shorten up as well. But it's interesting how the punters play these markets. A lot of people tend to like those who didn't run at Cheltenham and fresh here, but of course Put Your Hands Together, he did win very well, so it's an interesting blend. It always adds to the dynamics of the
and
race.
I think they were all doing a bit of a jig, weren't they, when Ulamba wasn't declared, and it's a real open looking race now. But Put Your Hands Together, the favourite. Right, Saturday 34 declared for the big one, the Grand National.
Yeah.
What are we thinking?
I've still got about 34 on the shortlist at the moment. We'll rate the field at the moment. I could see there being loads of 10-1 the field all around the village on the day. I keep thinking Percival Le Gallois.
Okay.
You know, he's done it in big fields. He's got Mark Walsh
How many's
aboard.
on this shortlist on the day generally?
About 8, really. So, yeah.
We've got to keep adding sometimes, don't we? I think, right, that's it, 4 and I'm done, and then something else catches the eye.
I like Percival. It'd be unusual to think a horse called Percival could win a Grand National, wouldn't it? But he's got the form in big handicaps to his name, and Can Do Kid of Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden. I keep thinking at 20-1. Well, that's not the rudest price in the world, is it, about such a powerful combination? But ask me tomorrow, I'll add another 2 to the list.
And what about in terms of going off favourite?
That's interesting. Iron Maximus was a well-backed winner of the race a year ago. And punters who backed him a year ago are probably going to save or at least go again. Maybe he might be the one that could go a favourite, but it's interesting. We haven't got any big positions on the race at the moment. We're in pretty good shape, so I think we'll all be very adventurous in our prices on the day.
Good. And you ready to party over the next few days?
Yeah, I've got my dancing shoes with me, so
good, yeah, I've already seen them doing a little bit of a jig there. Mrs. Cooney, tell us her name.
She's Mary from Drumcondra in Dublin, and Drumcondra, Irish football fans would know, that's where Liam Brady, the great Chippy Brady from Arsenal, he was born. He lives actually around the corner from her mother-in-law. So
okay.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah.
1994.
And if you tip the Grand National winner, you just never know, you might get a wife, Pat.
Yeah, for your sins.
That's all from here now. Pat Cooney, Bet365 with the betting update.
What a lovely chat that was with Pat Cooney there at Aintree. Romance in the air. Must be nice for Pat coming back every year and remembering how he first met his wife. Good stuff there with Rachel Casey. Looking forward to all the action this afternoon, but we're going to concentrate on Saturday. The Grand National declarations are in. The final field is here. 34 declared for the big race. I Am Maximus there at the top for Paul Townend, last year's winner in gladiatorial fashion. Can he do it again? Royal Pagaille there, Charlie Deutsch, Nick Rocket, one of Willie Mullins' contenders. Grange Clare West also for Willie Mullins. Hewick, the fancy of many. Gavin Sheehan, Shark Hanlon, winner of the King George, will love the ground. Former Gold Cup winner Minella Indo is there. Appreciate it. Another one for Willie Mullins, as is Minella Kakuna. Johnny Burke, a bit of an interesting jockey booking there. Conflated, Stumptown, of course, successful at the Cheltenham Festival and coming into this off the back of a fair few victories on the bounce. Hitman, Beauport, might not like the ground as much as some. Brave Man's Game, a former Grade 1 winner, of course. Chantry House, 300 through 5. I've got a sneaking suspicion he's going to run well at a big price. He'll like the ground. He's a very good jumper as well. Percival Le Gallois, towards the top of the markets for JP McManus. He's got a whole host of hopefuls in this contest. Can Do Kid, the main selection and main fancy of Paul Nicholls. Harry Cobden takes the ride, the first string for them. Iroko has been aimed at this race all season. Got a fine entry record, and John Joe O'Neill Jr. is in the plate for him. Intense Raffles, my fancy in the race. I'm hoping the ground is going to come right for him. It'll be okay, I hope. I think he might want it a little bit softer, but fingers crossed he's going to get away with it. It's a Senior Chief, Ida's boy, Phil Dorr, a fancy of Ruby Walsh to make the frame. He said that on the road to Aintree earlier in the week. Broadway boy, Cocoa Beach, Stay Away Faye, Meeting of the Waters is there. Monbeg Genius, I did fancy him, but I think he might just want the ground a little bit softer. Vanillier in the blinkers. He's been revitalised, hasn't he, recently? I think he's got very strong claims for the second in the race 2 years ago. Horanso Dairy, a first runner over jumps for Michael Keedy, and Kieran Gethings is on board that one. And Highland there for Nico de Boinville and Nicky Henderson, still looking for a first win in the big race. Celebra de Len is there, 3-card Bragg, Twig, Dufflecoat, Shake 'em Up Harry, Romage, Favori de Chandu, Fantastic Lady. The last 4 of those are all reserves. Right, let's have a look at the market, see how it shapes up. It's been all changed, hasn't it? Flip-flopping market leaders over the last 7 days or so. We have 3 8-to-1 co-favourites with Bet365 at the moment. I Am Maximus, Iroko and Stumptown. So JP McManus is responsible for 2 of the first 3 in the betting. Hewick there at 10-to-1 alongside Intense Raffles and Vanillier. A little bit of each-way money support has come for him the last few days. Minella Kakuna, likewise, has been quite well backed. Percival Le Gallois, Grange Clare West is 20s, Highland the same. Can-Do Kid also at 20-to-1, Meeting of the Waters, 3-card Bragg. And then Nick Rocket 25s, 28-to-1 and bigger the rest for the big race on Saturday, the Randox Grand National. Can't wait for that, can't wait for all the action to get underway this afternoon. For now though, let's get back to Rachel out on track.
Delighted to be joined by Dickon White, Aintree and North West Director. And I tell you what, it's just absolutely great to be here. Blue skies, the weather gods are on our side. How excited are you?
Oh, it's an incredible time. I mean, you know, we spent 12 months building up to this event, and yeah, to see the sun shining, people are just starting to come through the gates. It's a huge privilege to be involved here at Aintree, and yeah, really excited about the 3 days ahead of us.
And you say 12 months in planning. Can you just give us a little glimpse into what goes behind the scenes ahead of a Grand National meeting?
I mean, the team here at Aintree and across the Jockey Club, we really do analyse every little detail of previous events. So, you know, straight away after the 2024 running, we sat down as a team, looked at what went well, looked at where improvements could be made, and that's not just about the racing, it's also about what happens off course. So, you know, we look at the hospitality facilities, all the public facilities, and just trying to ensure that we give the best possible experience for people coming here on site.
And what are those improvements that you kind of recognise that you're hoping to bring into this year's festival?
Yeah, I mean, there's no major massive improvements. In terms of the racing, we were delighted with how that went in 2024. Some fantastic, well, incredible racing. Probably the best Grand National meeting I've ever been involved in terms of quality of racing. And you look at this year's 3 days, it looks fantastic again. But I mean, off the course, you know, we've made some very subtle changes to some of the hospitality facilities, some of the public areas. Some of the feedback was there wasn't enough seating areas. There's never enough loos. So we've just made some real improvements in there. So we've for example, this year we've got an association with Box Park, and we've created a mini box park down in the festival zone area. Okay. So it's really just about trying to create a better experience for customers when they come onto the racecourse.
Ticket sales good? Any tickets still available?
Yeah, I mean, we're absolutely delighted. I mean, this event has as you know, has a huge association to Liverpool, and the importance to this event to the economy is, you know, a value of over £60 million to the local economy. Ticket sales have gone brilliantly. We've got some tickets left, a few tickets left tomorrow on Friday. Saturday, everything is sold out this side of the Melling Road. A few tickets left over on the embankment. But no, we're absolutely delighted, and we just can't wait to welcome people here.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And we were saying, you know, the city, Liverpool just comes alive, and, you know, you've got the style, the lasses, the ladies, everything that comes with it. I've got to ask you, if you were to talk to a first-timer coming to Aintree, what would be the top of the list in terms of making their day absolutely amazing?
I think the key for me is to arrive early, to really enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the build-up, because gates open, you know, they're open now, so people come in, walk the site. You've also got the opportunity to go and walk the Grand National course if you want, and to get really close up to the fences themselves. I mean, you know, I always say to people, look, if you were going to Wimbledon, you wouldn't be allowed to go and walk on centre court.
I know.
You wouldn't be able to go to Wembley.
But that access is amazing,
exactly.
Isn't it?
We're trying to get this race and horse racing closer to the general public, and thousands and thousands of people come, engage with the horses. Many of them are first-time race goers. Many of them will only go once or twice a year, and it's, you know, it's part of our role and responsibility to make sure they have a great time.
This is only my second time at Aintree, so I'm absolutely buzzing for the next 3 days, and of course the Grand National itself. And it used to be, you know, years ago, all about the big race, all about the Saturday. Now we've got 3 terrific days and 34 declared for the big one.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, you're absolutely right. It used to be about Grand National. I always used to say to people that lots of sort of the industry people would drive up for the Grand National and then go home. They don't now. They come for the 3 days. It's a more relaxed atmosphere. We all talk about Cheltenham. It is the Olympics of jump racing, and such a fantastic 4 days. Aintree is slightly more relaxed. trainers, owners, jockeys seem to enjoy it slightly more. And, you know, that reflects in terms of the atmosphere around the site. And, you know, the Liverpool people, and they just absolutely love this event. And it's, as I say, they love hosting it. It's a privilege to be involved, and we can't wait to get started.
I've already felt that warmth from the Liverpoolians, and really excited about today. Thank you so much
Not
for
at
your
all.
time.
Thank you very much.
And also, good luck for the next 3 days, and most of all, enjoy it all.
We'll do our best. Thank you again. Thank you.
Yeah, great stuff there at Aintree. Welcome back to the studio. I am now going to try and align some of the figures to the visuals, courtesy of Race IQ metrics, starting off with the 145, the Manifesto Novices Chase. And I'm going to concentrate on 2 horses in particular. First up, Django Bay, who of course was last seen winning the Arkle, I think in spite of the trip. He couldn't really go the pace early, but he managed to latch on to their coattails throughout, and really what kept him in it was his jumping. He jumped very well in the main. You can see him here now, highlighted in the red and white diamonds. 7.9 jumps index score there at the 4th last. Coming to the 2nd last, he was a little bit skew-iff, but the momentum kept him going. Look at that leap at the last. That's what won him the race. A finishing speed of 104.91%. He absolutely flew home, and perhaps most notably, his final furlong sectional was a second quicker than his 2nd last furlong, which means he was speeding up when those in front weren't. That's how he won the Arkle. I think he won it in spite of the fact he doesn't want that trip. We saw over 2.5 miles earlier in the season at Cheltenham. He was electric over his fences, a jump score index of 8.8 that day. And I think the further he goes, the better he is going to be. This trip today, this intermediate distance, is going to be right up his street, that's for sure. I think he has stronger claims than those of Croke Park, but Croke Park's jumping is electric as well. In fact, in the field, he is the best and most fluent fencer of the lot. Last, we saw him at the DRF behind Ballyburn, and he jumped for fun this day. An 8.4 there, so fluent and efficient. This 8.9, he grabbed, what, 3 or 4 lengths in the process of jumping that one, then another 8.8. He's so consistent. He's so fluent. Look at that, so quick from one jump to another. And again, a little bit slower, but still an 8.1, and coming to the last, an 8.7. In the end, he found Ballyburn that little bit too strong, but there's no shame in that. Now, Gordon Elliott has been convincing us that he's better over 2.5 miles. You can see there a 9.0 score for the jumps index overall. It's very high for that race, particularly for a novice. But Gordon Elliott has been convincing us 2.5 miles is his trip. The general school of thought, though, from me and plenty of others, is that he wants a little bit further, perhaps 3 miles. If he is going to win today, it's going to be the jumping that sets him apart, because he is officially the best jumper in the field. However, I think Django Bay overall is going to be the one to beat. He's going to have to fly, I think, but I'm sure he will over that extra 2 miles, 3, and the extended trip that he's going to get this afternoon. So fingers crossed, Django Bay. It looks a really hot race with the likes of Gidley Park. He gained 15 lengths jumping at Windsor in the Lightning Novices Chase when last seen. And of course, Impero Pass, who finished behind Croke Park in that little video we just saw there, he gets the first time cheek pieces. It is a race worthy of its Grade 1 title. There is no doubt about that. And I can't wait for the 145, the Manifesto Novices Chase at Aintree this afternoon. Right, that is my analysis on the first race of the day. There'll be a little bit more coming later on, but for now, let's get out to the guys who are going to talk about the Aintree Bowl in a few moments' time. Right, here's the betting for the Brooklands Golden Miller Chronograph Bowl Chase, a Grade 1 over the extended 3 miles. 8 going to post for this, and a cracking field is lining up too. Grey Dawning, 9-4 favourite with Bet365. Harry Skelton for Brother Dan, and comes into this off the back of a nice performance at Kelso. Spillans Tower is 11-4 for this in the JP Manor Silks, and although he was a little bit disappointing in the King George last time, his form over this trip is very strong, and hopefully travelling won't cause an issue this time. Gaelic Warrior there at 13-2. We've got Ahoy Senor. He loves Aintree, doesn't he? Patrick Wadge taking the ride. A big day for him. He's 7-1. Embassy Gardens is 9-1 for Willie Mullins. Might just prefer the ground that little bit softer. Stage Star at 9-1 as well. Jello at 18 for Charlie Deutsch and Venetia Williams. A few judges have put that one up each way. And the Real Whacker at 25-1 for Brian Hughes. He's the outsider of the field, but again, he will like the ground. Right, let's delve into this race in a little bit more detail. As I was saying, we can now join Niall and the team.
Thanks, Tom. And not like the William Hill Aintree hurdle. We know that this will be well run. Lots of Lees like to jump and go forward. Grey Dunn at the head of the market. Sort of this time last year, he was the Gold Cup horse, the British Hope in the Gold Cup. But Dan Skelton is hopefully going to be crowned champion trainer for him in a few weeks' time. Bypassed Cheltenham. Went to the Premier Chase at Kelso, beat Iroko, who's the head of the market for the Randox Grand National Saturday. There's nothing not to like about this horse.
No, one of the key elements of this race is top 7 on the race card, separated by just £6. Secondly, nearly all of them missed Cheltenham, so they should be primed for today. And when we look at Grey Dawning at Kelso, it was effectively a match. His main rival, Iroko, was, I think, prepping for Saturday's Grand National, but there was still a real element of swagger about this performance. When he gets it right, he's a really bold, aggressive and accurate jumper, and although you wouldn't want to put hand on heart and say this was a genuinely, mid-160s performance on the numbers, I think he is that kind of good, and with a lead today, because there's plenty of pace here, I think he should run really well. I'm not crazy about the price, 9 to 4. I probably want 11 to 4 to back him, but something about this horse that suggests we still haven't seen the very best of him.
Absolutely. And Dan Skelton, you talk about target trainers, he is so good. No, missed Cheltenham, this is where he's going. He will be ready. This is D-Day for him.
And Britain needs a really good staying chaser. We just haven't got one at the moment.
Yeah, and this could well be the answer. If we get a really, really classy winner, it'll be him or Spillane Tower. Now, when he won what he'd done last season, he had a great season as a novice. In the John Durkan, I thought, well, that's him prime for a massive season. Kempton, he obviously had to travel with RAC like he has today, so that's a little bit of a concern. We haven't seen him since the King George. We can have a look at him in action there, but it's still early days with this horse, isn't it?
It is, Niall. It very much is. And I have to say, I think when I seen him run in the John Durkan, when he split the likes of Factifile and Gallopin de Champs as well, I thought, wow, this is a really exciting horse going forward. I think we can draw a line through this run. I know Connections mentioned that he didn't settle after travelling over, and he probably wasn't where they would want him to be, considering the fact that the ground was a little bit faster than he ideally wanted. I think everything was just happening too fast for him. He made a couple of little jumping errors, maybe getting into the roots of some of the fences as well, not as fluent as he can be at times. But for me, I just put a line through this. In fairness to him, I thought he was going to run into a credible 4th at this stage, but from the back of the last, he actually weakens a little bit, and the real whacker actually comes and finishes just in front of him.
Yeah, it's poles apart, isn't
yes,
it, from the John Durkan?
It is completely different form lines, but like, to be honest, Niall, back up in trip, a little bit more of an ease in the ground. Obviously, you still have the travel concerns.
Yeah.
That fact that
that's what I want to ask you. What can you do, travelling wise? What can they do?
I seen Mary Mangan actually this morning and yesterday, and she's overseeing obviously Jimmy Mangan's Spillane Tower while he's here the whole time, and she seemed to be happy.
That he's eating, maybe bringing their own water, small things.
Yeah, the small things. Look, the fact that he's done it once, maybe he'll be more prepared and he'll know what he's at this time around. This is obviously the John Durkan.
This is the best piece of form on offer, isn't it?
It has to be. I think it is anyway. Like, I mean, Gallopin de Champs coming down to the last, Factifile there as well.
And faster slow there as well.
Faster slow also as well. And Jack Kennedy on board Spillane's Tower down over the last. But what he does between the last and the line, I thought was really impressive, because he pushes Factifile all the way to the finish post. And I thought, going to the John Durkan, Jimmy Mangan stated that there was loads of improvement to come from this horse. He wasn't exactly primed for that day. Yeah. Obviously, it didn't happen in the King George. I expect more to come from him.
On Boxing Day, punters made him favourite for the King George, 11 to 4, and it was untidy from an early stage, and we're not going to know because it's only race 3 on the card. But the more water they've put on, I think the better for Spillane's Tower, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. I just think if it's John Durkan run, I think he should be favoured. If he hadn't run at Kempton and that run was 6 weeks ago, I think he'd be favoured.
Until Kempton, he was getting better with every single run. So he's, we can always forgive one run, and we should see the real Spillane's Tower today, in which case he adds a lot to this.
Willie Mullins, 2 runners, Embassy Gardens and Gaelic Warrior. When the jockey bookings come through, what was your thoughts?
Well, Patrick Mullins will be delighted to get back on Gaelic Warrior, but that horse cannot afford to start that right-wing tendency in a race like this, because there's going to be plenty of pace on, and this is an unforgiving track for horses who make mistakes or jump out to the right, and we know that he tends to do that, Lisa.
And Lisa, I want to bring you in as the next rider. You've got Ahoy Seigneur and Gaelic Warrior. Ahoy Seigneur is going to be in front of Gaelic Warrior earlier. Ahoy Seigneur is going to be forfeiting ground out to the right. We know that. And if anything, over the last season, he's done a little bit more. You sometimes hear horses will follow in front. So, like, it could be not ideal for a Gaelic Warrior, even with Ahoy Seigneur going right. I mean, the Perham will be going further out.
Yeah, and I'd imagine Patrick Mullins will want to bury him on the inside and try and get a little bit of cover. But if you have Ahoy Seigneur out in front and he does go right, and the rest do tend to follow, it's going to encourage Gaelic Warrior to do that. This horse is a complete enigma for me. Would you be surprised if he actually bolted up in it either?
Pulled up, yeah, would know.
He could do either or. But
Agreed.
for me, I think his level, the level of his form this year hasn't been anywhere where it has been in previous years. But yet again, he can throw in. Look what he done in the Arkle a couple of years ago.
That's the one occasion where he really put it all together over fences, and the rest of his chasing form is by no means as persuasive.
And that was in the old course at Cheltenham. It doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. So good luck to Patrick Mullins, but I think you'll know whether you're in with a chance pretty early in the piece with him. If he starts to jump straight and gets in a rhythm, away we go. But if he starts to jump right, he's in big trouble.
Embassy Gardens?
Well, he would carry the poignancy, Agnell, because he was the late Michael O'Sullivan's last big winner, New Year's Day at Tramore, and his last big race ride in the Irish Gold Cup. Again, I would prefer softer ground for him. I think that even a peak form Embassy Gardens might struggle to beat one or two of these. What do you think, Lisa?
Yeah, I definitely think so. He's unexposed at this level, but he's a lot to prove. I was at Tramore that day when he won, and I was impressed by what he done. But for me, I think his best racing record is always when he's fresh. But I think he's plenty to prove today.
So is it a good mark for Embassy Gardens that Paul Townend's chosen him, or flip the coin, a black mark for Gaelic Warrior that he hasn't chosen him?
But it is a home fixture for Ahoy Seigneur. 6 times he's been here. He absolutely loves this place. Now, you mentioned Gaelic Warrior. You're not really sure what you're going to get. Ahoy Seigneur, you've got to file him in the same sort of bracket, don't you? He is a talented horse. The Cheltenham Gold Cup last time, he winged round. He got in a really nice jumping rhythm and then fell over. But Aintree is the one track that it shouldn't suit, because he goes out to the right. Every time he's come here, hurdles and fences, he's been brilliant.
Let me take you through his record at this meeting the last 4 years. 66-1, won the Sefton 3-mile novice hurdle. Then he won the Grade 1 novice chase. He beat Fury Road and Lompresse, and he beat them good looking. And in this race for the last 2 years, he's made Shishkin work pretty hard, and he made the Gold Cup runner-up Jerry Colombe work really hard. So the one consistent strand of his form throughout a checkered career is Aintree in April. So provided he doesn't get too much pressure, and that is a concern, he should run well. But I've called him cement-footed more than once. And just as I thought he was getting it right at Cheltenham, ditch, plunge, game over.
Yeah, well, I was looking at this last night, I was thinking Splans Tower is the one I really want to be with, but at the prices, he's 7-1 now. You're thinking 8 runners, Ahoy Seigneur.
You could back 2. You could have him as a saver and for value.
Yeah.
And if you go back through the form lines, Clan de Zobo was a horse that's actually been beaten in this 2 years running before he actually won this. So maybe he's following those kind of form lines.
It'll be well run, because Ahoy Seigneur will go forward.
The Real Whacker,
Grey Dawning. Lots of these, and also like just not to be too far off it.
Stage Star.
Stage Star
can
is
go
another
forward
one,
as well. How good is he? Because he was giving a bit of weight to Lompresse when he beat him in the Cotswold chase, but I'm not quite sure we can take that at face value. What do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree. It's a
gentleman's game has polished the form with a good Gold Cup run.
He has. Chantry House is in there pitching. It doesn't really shine it too much. Again, we talked about Dan Skelton sort of target training. Stage Star, never going to go to Cheltenham, always going to come to Aintree.
Yeah. He was giving Lompresse, I think,
£4.
£4 here. So, you know, it's a high-class performance.
Is he a horse that's probably seen at his best on softer ground conditions as well?
Yeah, I think this was his 3-mile debut as well, I think.
It was.
Today could be I think it's a different test, different ground and deeper field overall.
Yeah. Jello?
Well, bizarrely, he's 20-1 plus. He's the highest rated horse in the race, only by a pound or two.
166.
It would be his Newbury performance, I think, that earned him that in the Denman chase, which was stepping up to 3 miles. But he went to Cheltenham last time and he didn't shine, so he's got to put that performance well behind him.
Okay, Splans Tower to beat Ahoy Seigneur. There's your forecast.
I'm Grey Dawning, but like you, whatever I back here, and it probably will be Grey Dawning, I will be saving on the cement-footed, but highly talented Ahoy Senor.
What wins it?
Spillane Tower for me.
Spillane Tower. We're agreeing once again. How much water? Because that'll affect a lot of these horses. What will the ground ride like?
Do you know, I looked it up. I put my anorak on this morning. Average rainfall in Liverpool in March is 55 millimetres in the month. And there's normally 16 days when it rains in March. I don't think there were any.
No.
But they've put at least 50 millimetres on the track in the last week or two. So
They have been prepared, in fairness to them, and I think as well, being here yesterday, there's just a breeze blowing the whole day through yesterday, and even today you can feel that breeze.
Breezy,
you know, so that does dry up the ground an awful lot, even throughout the day as well. So it'll be interesting to see what the jockeys say when they come back from the first couple of races.
And this race will be, I think, a severe test of jumping. Because this is an unforgiving track, and we've got 4 or 5 very closely matched horses who've all been known to go forward.
Okay, what will the ground be like? Well, one man who will certainly know a little bit more than us three guessers is John Pullen. He's been talking with Rachel.
Well, glorious blue skies here at Aintree, and I think it's a blessing. John Pullen joins me because it can be very, very challenging when we're dealing with wet conditions. But what about dry conditions? Because it's not been raining since, what, Cheltenham?
Yeah, very, very little rain, as you say. Prolonged dry period, pretty much across the country, but we've certainly felt it here at Aintree. So whilst it's different to the rain, that we haven't got those challenges, getting enough water on has been a challenge. Huge credit to the grounds team here at Aintree, who have worked tirelessly over the last sort of 2 to 3 weeks. It's been relentless with the watering, but we're happy with where we're starting the fixture today.
And how do you know how much water to put on? Because it's such a vast area that we've got to look at.
It is. We've got different soil types across the courses as well, so the course reacts in different ways in different parts of the course. So it's about getting to know the track and how it does react, and then you can gauge how much water you need to put on. Some areas will have more, some less, because obviously the key thing is for us to try and produce that consistent ground.
And luckily for racegoers, the weather's going to be dry, which means an extra challenge kind of over the next couple of days for yourselves?
Yeah, that's it. No, perfect for customers, so delighted for them. They should have 3 great days. The forecast is consistent. We should be 19 degrees later on this afternoon, could even hit 20 degrees tomorrow. A little bit cooler on Saturday, but again, dry and sunny. So great from a customer point of view, but we'll be we'll be watering again between meetings. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And then on Saturday, obviously for the Grand National course itself, will be softer than this track.
Yeah, we always we don't want to start the national course on anything quicker than good to soft, and that's very much where we are at the moment. Very much on the easy side. It's lovely ground out there, and we'll be looking to try and maintain that. We've got a pop-up system, irrigation system out in the country, which helps. That does make it slightly easier for the team. So we'll be looking to try and keep as much moisture in there ahead of Saturday as possible.
You'll hear punters saying, I hope he doesn't throw too much water on it. And I got to ask you, what are the kind of the misconceptions, shall we say, of racegoers and punters in terms of preparing a course like Aintree?
I think probably watering is a key one. It isn't a simple process. Whilst we do have pop-ups in certain areas of the track, which makes the process easier, it's still got to run a cycle. It isn't just a case of a flick of a switch and an hour later we've irrigated the whole track. This last 2 to 3 weeks, the team have put probably an average of 6 to 7 mil on the whole track, and that's taken sort of a 24-hour cycle to do everything. So we've been watering the Grand National course out in the country during the night through the pop-up system, and then mild-made course and the inner national course with a combination of pop-ups and booms irrigator. So it's hard work.
It is, but you've come suited and booted, looking great for the start of the festival. And you came, I thought, well, your work is done, but is it done?
No, we're only just about to begin. We enjoy the build-up, but I think that the team would be unanimous in saying that this is the thing that we all work towards. It's what we all want to see. We want to see 3 fantastic days racing. All the hard work that's gone in over the weeks is now coming to fruition. So, hopefully we'll have 3 great days.
We will, and what a great race we have, the Aintree hurdle. I mean, Constitution Hill and Lossiemouth. And I think for for the popularity of horse racing, this is kind of what we really need in the sport, these two clashing at Aintree, at one of the greatest racecourses in the world.
It is, yeah, no, delighted to see both the quality and quantity across the 3 days of this festival. Given its proximity to Cheltenham, obviously, there was a risk that some of those that ran at Cheltenham wouldn't come, but thankfully, they are. So delighted to see the quality. That will be a great clash. Some would argue that was the clash that perhaps we should have seen at Cheltenham.
Yeah. Doesn't matter now because we
no,
get it here, right?
Exactly.
I'll ask you really quickly on just the contrast in managing Cheltenham and preparing Cheltenham to Aintree, because I guess this is still a race course that you're just familiarising with.
Yes, absolutely. I've been involved since the start of the season, but that's very early days as far as getting to know a race course is concerned. So it's been just getting to know Aintree and how it reacts, and particularly with the watering, how it reacts to the various volumes that we've been putting on, how quickly it dries. And that's the one thing with Aintree, it does dry very, very quickly. Perfect drying conditions now, warm and windy. So we've got a challenge ahead over the next 3 days.
Listen, one that you're well able to rise to. We wish you the best of luck for the next 3 days, and as ever, thank you for your time. We'll have another update in the morning.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Yeah, it's a tough old gig, isn't it, for John Pullen? Cheltenham and Aintree as clerk of the course. I imagine at the end of this week he's going to sleep pretty soundly after those 2 meetings have taken place, that's for sure. Just to let you know, Freeview followers, this stream is going to end shortly, so if you want to continue watching this and the rest of the Aintree Festival, the details are there on the screen. racingtv.com/benefits is the place to go to keep on this uninterrupted coverage. Right, next up, we're going to be looking at the Red Rum. And the betting for the Close Brothers Red Rum Handicap Chase looks like this. My mate Mozzie at the top alongside Primoz, 5-1 joint favourites with Bet365 for this prestigious handicap chase. Saint-Brouilly, last year's winner, and Petit Tonnerre are both 6-1 next in. Then the Folks Tiara, 7-1, Rathcoole Hill the same. Calico is 10-1, General Medrano is 16s, Tommy's Oscar 25s, Gunsight Ridge 28-1, Galungung the same, and in Edit Star, Hunter's Yarn 40-1, that could be a big price, and Dr. TJ Eckelberg the same, 14 going to post for the Close Brothers Red Rum Handicap Chase. I'm a fan of Saint-Brouilly. I'm a little bit concerned about the ground, but hopefully he'll be okay on it. I think he's nicely handicapped off the same mark as when winning the race last year. Let's see what Niall and the team think.
I can see your point. It's just wonder he's on the same mark. Why? Because we haven't seen anything from this season, and coming from his postcode, Paul Nichols, it's not like you're thinking, well, we're planning 6 months ahead here.
The wheels have come off. There's no question about it. I think you have a look at his most recent record, P 20 lengths, P 47 lengths last time. He was dynamic under Frosty, Bryony Frost in this race last year, jumping beautifully, right on the speed, and going against the normal template for a race like this. He was on the front end and kept going. Often you look for a smooth travelling hold-up horse, but I'd find it hard to back Saint-Brouilly this time around because his recent efforts have been very plain.
Okay, 5-1 joint favourites. My mate Mozzie, who I think that today's everything's tailor-made for him. I think a flat track, strong gallop to run at. Sometimes when he comes off the bridle, he looks like he's going to go and pull away. He doesn't often find lots.
No, and that's it with him, Niall. Obviously, we pick him up here in the Grand Annual.
And you pick up Primoz.
Primoz as well, who was unfavoured by the start. It was a standing start, and he didn't jump off where he needed to. Well, he was unfavoured by that.
But you look at Keith Donoghue, he's absolutely counter. I know that's his style, a bit Paul Carberry-esque. You're not really sure if he's holding on to loads, but normally the answer is not lots.
No, he's a horse that travels extremely well, and I have no doubt he'll turn into the home straight and he'll travel all the way to the last. It's what he finds from the back of the last all the way to the finish post is the biggest question, because he always looks like he's travelling so well, but when he comes off it, he doesn't find what you would think he might find.
He's right up there on the list of horses who've traded very short in running and not won. He's 10, 11, maybe 12 times when he's traded at 6-4 and shorter and not got the job done.
And in fairness to my mate Mozzie, he's only actually had 6 runs over fences, so he is probably one of those who's lesser exposed. I think the fact he's been around a long time, he's won a bumper, he's won a point, he's won a couple of times over hurls, he's won over fences. I feel like he's been around a lot longer, but he still is pretty unexposed.
But a 20-5 tonight is largely good ground, flat track. It should be all the ingredients are there.
Yeah, I think his best chance is one short, sharp run after the last and hope that lasts him home. And I'd have him high on my short list. I was a bit disappointed by that finishing effort, Cheltenham. He has won there, but in a big field, really strong gallop, it maybe just taxed his stamina. A lot of excuses for this fella, but the innate ability and that cruising speed, it's just seductive, isn't it?
And Primos has had excuses, there's no doubt about it. I was at Weatherby when he won in October, and it was a largely uncompetitive race, but he bolted up.
Yeah.
Didn't stay, I don't think, at Newbury, made a bad mistake at a crucial time. Didn't stay at Cheltenham before that. I think he's definitely going to rate higher than 130 at some point in his career.
I looked at this market and think, what have I missed with this horse? Because I don't make him quite so short. And generally when that happens, it's because I have missed something. And maybe I haven't. It went badly wrong at the start of Cheltenham for him, Lisa. The tape came across, he was on the way out west, and he just got out of rhythm completely, didn't he?
He did, and I suppose we go back to the trainer factor as well. Lucinda Russell here at Aintree, her horses seem to peak here as well. So, look, he has to step it up. He really does. He has to put in a career best if he's going to get his head in front today. But maybe he has the potential to improve.
Yeah, you like him when you see him.
There was another horse in that race in the white colours. If you go back to the Grand Annual, he was beaten 15 lengths in the end, General Medrano, but I thought he ran all right, and I think he stacks up well for a race like this. So at a big price, I could make a case for him.
Okay, a race like this. Let's look at last year's renewal if we can. Obviously, we're mentioning Sam Brouet back in that same mark.